Some people say that if you can visit only one city to capture the true feeling of the South, it should be Savannah, Georgia. The free spirit, passion, and Southern love of comfort are indicated everywhere, as are the quirky and eccentric aspects of this port city, made famous in the book Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. Elizabeth on 37th exemplifies all of these Southern traits. In today's program, Elizabeth Terry takes a Southern favorite, grits, and creates a delicious souffle. Her Southern pesto is just as flavorful as the Italian version, and black-eyed pea cakes are a guaranteed crowd pleaser. Regina also visits one of Savannah's best-loved dining traditions.
We're here in the Deep South in a city that Pat Conroy, the Southern author, refers to as achingly beautiful, Savannah, Georgia, and we're at Elizabeth's on 37th Street. I'm here with Elizabeth Terry, and it's all our pleasure. What wonderful cuisine we have coming up, and what a beautiful cookbook. She's written Savannah Seasons, and Pat Conroy said one of the wonderful things about being an author is that he gets to share his love of people, places, and food, and you two are friends. He's been dining at your establishment for a long time, and you're featured in beach music. Elizabeth on 37th is featured in beach music.
Well, we're glad to have you here today in Savannah, Regina. And yes, Pat and I really enjoy talking about food and cooking, and particularly Southern cooking.
And yours is, it is Southern cooking, but it has some really sophisticated, I consider fairly sophisticated little twists on it.
Thanks.
And we're going to start out with grits, and a couple of variations of the way in which you can use grits. And grits is something that in the West we really don't understand all that much, but we do understand polenta, and there's not that great a difference between polenta dishes and grits.
There's not, and the same in the Midwest. It's scrapple or most cuisines use a form of dried corn, dried ground corn. Now this has the wheat germ in it, and it's yellow corn. There are instant grits, there are white grits, and they're really, in all my recipes, interchangeable.
So which dish are we going to start out with?
All right, today we are going to make, and I have already over here, see, I use a plate for my lid. This is a cup of grits that's been cooked with 6 cups of water, just simmered. I stir it periodically, and then after it's cooked, it has a 1/4 cup of half and half folded into it, and a little bit of cheese.
Okay,
about a 1/4 cup of grated cheese, and that's what it was.
What kind of cheese do you use in there, by the way?
Well, we use at the restaurant a combination of cheddar and Swiss, and you can use either cheddar or Swiss or a combination if you like. And again, we use white cheddar, but yellow is fine too. Because of the cheese, I don't use any salt because the cheese is a little salty.
Right.
So this is chopped red pepper. You can use green, of course. And that, I'll let you stir that in while I reach back here and get my favorite hot sauce.
Now tell us about this hot sauce, because one thing you have in the South is some hot sauces that are pretty intense that we may only find in specialty shops out west, for example.
Well, again, use the hot sauce that you love. The reason that we use this in the restaurant, and the reason I recommend it, and it's sriracha hot chili sauce, it's a strained chili sauce, and it's found in Asian food stores, is because you can measure it.
Okay.
And
what's it called? Sriracha?
Sriracha. Hot chili sauce, yes. It looks like ketchup and measures like ketchup, I think.
Now, is this super hot?
It's not quite as hot as some of the others.
Okay.
In some cuisines, particularly Southwest, I think, the fire hits the beginning of the mouth, on the tip of the tongue. But in coastal Southern cooking, the fire is at the back of the throat.
Oh, I see.
And
That's
I like that
interesting
because,
description.
yes. So now this is just going to go into a pan.
Okay. And you have this
borrow the spoon
pan
back.
coated with something just to keep it from sticking.
Exactly.
Okay.
This is just going to go into the refrigerator and cool. I'll cool it for a minute because it's still steamy.
I'll take this away.
All right. Okay. Can you see it? It's going to go into the refrigerator. And the grits, the starch in the grits will just make it very, very firm so that we can cut it later. And I have one to show you. And fry it.
Okay, so this is kind of, so it's like a sauteed polenta dish or fried polenta. Yes. Okay.
Which we don't use in the South, but it's all right for this. Secretly off camera, someone is sauteing the grits, and now I just want to show you the plate, because really what we're going to do is the spoon bread variation.
Okay, very good. So do we have that ready?
Yes, we do.
Thank you, sir.
It's right here.
Oh, lovely. And
Thanks,
then you'll have
David.
to talk to us about this little addition up here of cheese.
All right, this is a little goat cheese that we've just sliced, coated with a little extra virgin olive oil and breadcrumbs. And now, red pepper sauce. And the red pepper sauce is very simple. There's a recipe in the cookbook as well as the grits and the goat cheese. But it's just a matter of simmering red peppers until they're soft, pureeing them in a food processor, and straining them. We put a little ginger in
nice touch.
while we're simmering them. But,
and you can use roasted peppers if you want. Can
and
you
you
roast
can
it?
roast
So you
peppers
take
and
it
just
away?
go ahead and puree them. Yes.
Very
But this
nice.
is a wonderful beginning
Okay,
for
so
any
this
meal.
is
And
a-
of course you could add fresh tossed greens, and then it becomes a good luncheon.
So now, is this one of your appetizers on the menu?
It is.
Okay, good. So
Fried
now we're
grits.
doing the spoon version,
Yes,
right?
the spoon bread version.
Now we have kind of a light and fluffy version of grits.
A souffle, but it's firmer than a souffle, but ooh, it gets nice and brown and crispy on the
yum.
outside, so it's
Okay.
good. I have another batch of cooked grits that I kept warm, and golly, these are real hearty things. I kept warm in a pan of warm water over there and covered them. Why don't you crack that egg in that bowl? Is that?
You want it right in here?
Yes.
Okay.
There's the grits. And what we're going to do is just lightly whip these eggs and then stir them into the grits.
Okay.
And I have a special job for you, grating
Yes?
the nutmeg.
Oh, gosh.
It smells so good. I wish you guys could smell it.
Okay, do you want me to
Fresh
do it
grated
right over
nutmeg.
it, or can
Yes.
I use this for support?
Either way.
And scoop it later. Okay, is this got
That's
about,
perfect.
about a quarter
Yes.
of a teaspoon? Oh
Doesn't
my
it
gosh,
smell
it's
good?
heavy.
It's worth really having a little nutmeg grater and
Reminds me of the holiday season and eggnog, and it's just such a strong scent. when it's
nutmeg
fresh
and eggs are
grated.
perfect together.
There we go.
And then this just goes into the souffle dish
Okay. Smells
and
good.
into the oven. It bakes for half an hour at 350 degrees.
And now this isn't necessarily sweet then, right?
It's not sweet. No,
Okay,
it's a
so do you
savory
have the
souffle.
same? Okay, do you have cheese in there or anything?
Yes, this is the same basic recipe that we
Okay.
made with the light
Right.
cream and the cheese.
Okay. That's what we need to know. We need to know about the flavor. All right, and so this will bake.
And I'll give this to David to put in the oven.
Okay, very good. David, there you
Thanks,
go.
David.
Okay, and so by magic, we'll be back in just a few minutes when it's all
Out of the oven.
Hi, I'm Richard Edgecombe with White House Gardens, and today we're going to do a simple centerpiece for the dining room or kitchen table. And what we've done here is we've taken a simple terracotta pot and we've painted it a cream color and we sponged it with some gold leaf paint. And these type of containers can be made very easily. You can go out to your garage or go to your local flea market or garage sales and pick up a variety of different containers. I've already greened the arrangement up. I put a little bit of Oasis into. Oasis is the green, spongy stuff that florists use. And I've greened it up with some mint, some cinnamon basil, some sage, and some ivy. And I'm going to pop a few flowers into it. And what we're going to use some hothouse flowers. I've got some lilies here, and these are called Pink Paradise. It's a member of the Stargazer type family. They're an Oriental lily. We're going to pop a few of those in. Do not be concerned if your flowers, they do not have to be evenly spaced around your container. They can be put in where you like them. If there are two together, that's good. If there's a single one here, that's fine also. Now we're going to use a little bit of stock. We have some lovely Lysianthus. This is a pink variety that we're going to pop in. And we can pop in also on this, we can pop in groupings of the Lysianthus. Doesn't have to be symmetrical. We've got a little bit of raspberry thistle. And that's something that just grows on the side of the road that can be cut and put into our arrangements. We have a few spray roses here. We'll pop a few of those in. This is a yellow variety called Bahama. And we're going to use a little bit of garden lamb's ear. This is the flower and not the foliage. We'll pop a little bit of that into our arrangement. And why don't we end with a little bit of Sandalina blossoms. Sandalina is another type of herb, and you see I'm using them in little groupings. And we'll pop last one's right towards the center, and I notice here I have a few more Lysianthus, so let me pop those in also. What you want to make sure is when you're making an arrangement to give your flowers a fresh cut with a sharp knife before you insert them so the flower gets adequate amount of water. And here's our finished product. It's an arrangement sitting on a dish that has been painted and sponged with a little bit of gold leaf paint, and perfect for a breakfast, dining room, kitchen table.
And now the next dish is another Southern interpretation of a classic, I guess you would call it an Italian dish, a pesto.
Yes, yes.
But you have a couple twists again.
Well, this is really a pecan spinach garlic sauce. Pecans are so sweet, and they go with potatoes and with grits, that kind of thing. So here we go. This is about a half a cup of spinach, chopped spinach. Italian parsley, because of course the flat leaf or flat leaf parsley has much more flavor than the curly leaf. This is fresh basil. And if you want to make this in the winter, you can leave out the basil, that's all right.
Is this from your herb garden?
Yes.
Oh, it's so fresh smelling.
Pecans from Georgia, and a little minced garlic. Now we'll just get, I can put the salt in now, just a hint of salt. Leave it out if you like. We'll just get this going, and then I'll slowly add the oil. And then we'll just add, I've used grated Asiago cheese. Cheddar is fine, or Parmesan, any of the Italian hard grating cheeses, Romano, will work. And it's delicious without the cheese, of course. There we are. This is a chunky sauce. And the flavors really just melt down over anything that's warm.
It smells wonderful. Good. Now, this is going to be paired with vegetables?
With vegetables, yes. We're going to grill vegetables, and we'll get a plate now. We've got David off preparing our plate. We had sweet potatoes last night for dinner, and we roasted them on the grill wrapped in tin foil. And I saved one or two, and they're sliced and grilled. And we also have shiitake mushrooms. Pesto goes on top of these vegetables. These vegetables are warm, so the pesto will melt, or the pecan and spinach sauce will melt down into the plate. And then we're going to add to that in just a minute.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and clear away for the next step. And now the sensitive part, which is the souffle, which we have to get right out of the oven. Here he comes.
And here he comes, David, with the souffle.
Beautiful. Can I handle that without it being too hot?
Good.
There we go.
Oh, all right.
And these are
it's golden.
sensitive.
It's puffy, but it's a firmer souffle than
so
just an egg and cheese souffle. So what we'll do is just break this crust.
So this is not going to necessarily collapse all that quickly.
It will
then.
flatten a bit.
A bit.
Yes, it will.
Ooh, that
It
smells
just
so
smells
good.
so good. You're right. You're right. There's the souffle. I'll move this over to the side.
Yum. Southern cuisine.
And then
at
the
its
all-important garnish. We have these beautiful yellow tomatoes from our garden. So we'll put a slice of yellow tomato. I love fruits and vegetables together. I just think.
And figs. You have a longer fig
Fresh.
season here. Elizabeth telling me off camera that figs, they enjoy using figs so much in the restaurant that sometimes they barter. You know, give a nice bottle of wine for a basket or two of figs to make sure that they have fresh figs on hand. Boy, do they enhance the dish. Just lovely.
All right,
There you
a
go.
variety, lots of textures for your
yeah.
mouth. And a spoon bread souffle made with grits and eggs and fresh grated nutmeg. Don't forget
Just
that.
lovely. Now this is going to be fun. We have black-eyed pea cakes.
Cakes, that's right.
Pea cakes, and it's something.
They're crunchy on the outside, they're soft on the inside, and they are full of flavor.
And black-eyed peas are a little different than a lot of other legumes, a lot of other beans. I mean, they look the same except for that little black eye on it. But it has a much more, it's an earthy, almost smoky flavor inherently to it.
Yes,
It's like you put a little hickory in it when you haven't. They just come with that.
So I think this is a recipe that's a favorite with the gentleman. It's a hearty flavor.
Okay.
All right. We have simmered the rice. We're using wild rice, and wild rice takes longer to cook. So I just put wild rice in the pan with the water, and then when it's almost cooked, I add the diced potatoes and leek. You of course can use onion if you like. I'm going to put the potatoes. It's important that you put this in the food processor right after you've drained the potatoes, because you don't want them to become dry. We'll add the black-eyed peas.
And you have a little bit of fresh thyme in there also.
Yeah, if you don't have fresh thyme in your garden, use fresh Italian parsley, fresh basil. The herbs are interchangeable as long as they're soft. So when I drained the potatoes, I saved the liquid.
Okay.
This, of course, can be used as a basis for a vegetable soup, or if I feel that these are going to be too dry, I just add a little broth, a little more broth. So here we go. We'll blend this up. And now we have the black-eyed peas and potatoes. I've chilled these because they firm up just a little bit, but you see they are nice and soft. And we're going to form these into patties and roll them in potato chips.
Oh yeah, in crushed potato chips.
In crushed potato
and
chips.
Speaking of really southern dips, dishes, while you're putting this all together, we went to another establishment here in Savannah, very different than your own, that is true, down-home, everyday Southern food. Mrs. Wilkes, it's the boarding house, and this is the dining room in the boarding house?
And this is a Savannah tradition. One mustn't visit Savannah without visiting
going to Mrs. Wilkes.
Come to Elizabeth on 37th too, of course. But.
Well, Mrs. Wilkes is in her 90s, but she's agreed to speak with us nonetheless. So let's go to Mrs. Wilkes.
Oh, very good. Saving you in just a moment. Okay, let's go ahead and get yours.
When locals here are hungry for some of Mom's cooking, but Mom's too busy to cook or too far away, they know where to go. Mrs. Wilkes' dining room. She's been feeding Savannah for more than half a century.
I opened this place in 1943, July.
You won't find fancy, but you will find all the fixins for a homemade Southern meal.
We have a menu for each day of the week, Monday through Friday. We're not open Saturday and Sundays. And Monday is fried chicken every day. Then we add other meats to it. And beef, pot roast beef, and barbecue, and baked ham every day. Things like that.
And it would be a sin to leave without dessert.
Banana pudding is number one. And we have cobblers, fruit cobblers, and pies, and things like that.
Now in her 90s, she still looks forward to feeding her many fans.
I feel like I've been blessed to be able to keep this right on.
And what does she have to say to new faces?
Come and eat with me. Come and have lunch with me. Yes, you all come.
And we'll do another one. You put a little bit of olive oil in here because these are going to be baked, not fried.
All right, the other thing that I forgot to do, but one mustn't at home, is to put a little spice in the pea patty recipe, and then perhaps a little cumin. Those will go in the oven now. I'll just drizzle them with a little tiny bit of water.
And
the potato chips will make them crispy.
How long will these bake for, and what temperature?
I believe it's 350 for 10 minutes.
Okay.
10 minutes. 350 oven.
Yeah, because it's all cooked. You just want to heat it through.
Exactly.
Okay, good.
Warm in this house.
It's warm in this kitchen. Thank God we're using big greens because they double for a lot of things.
These are collard greens, and you can use kale or any of the firm greens.
And you want to get rid of that tough spine on it. There you go.
Get rid of the tough spine. And some people will then just break them and cook them for a long time. At Elizabeth's, we like to just simmer them very lightly. So this is the way we cut them into a real fine, small julienne. You see, all that way, and then just a cut, and they're ready to go into a pan. If I were cooking lots, I'd of course use a larger pan, and then I'm just going to put a little water in them, put a lid on them, On high heat, they will take about 3 minutes to cook.
Okay.
Because the fibers have already been broken up. And you'll see on the finished plate how beautiful they are, and they're delicious.
That's true. So you're really just wilting it, and it still retains.
That's
In
right.
fact, it brightens up the color a bit. If you keep cooking it and cooking it, you get that dull kind of pea green, which
Yes.
we've all seen our grandmas
They're
do.
tasty. They're
They taste
tasty
good.
that way, but
Yeah.
they're tasty this way as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
All right, Regina, our collards are cooking. I've transferred them to a slightly larger pan. They're on high and they're steaming, and it's just going to take the amount of time that it'll take us to melt this butter.
And then what do we have here? I
Where's
see
that?
some curry powder. This is
Curry
interesting.
powder. It's always important when you're using spices to heat up the flavor of a spice. So we're putting the curry powder into butter, and I'm just going to saute it to release the flavors, really. I tried to do it in water, and it really just did need the oil from the butter or from oil.
Right.
So that's what we're doing is just, now I smell those collard greens. I know they're bright green underneath that lid, and I'm just going to turn them off.
Okay. Yeah, they've really only been on just a couple of minutes. All right.
And again, we don't want to burn the spices, but we do just want to release that curry flavor.
smells
And now
good.
I can smell it, so it will just go in. This is just a wonderful, this is sour cream. You can cool the spice, the curry, and stir it into yogurt if you like, but be sure that the butter and the spices are cool first.
Right.
These are because this is tomato season. We have fresh tomatoes from the garden, cherry tomatoes and yellow tomatoes, but you can use any kind that you have.
There's some little spring onions chopped up over here.
Spring onions go in, and you can certainly add those. A little extra virgin olive oil.
This is one of my
Fresh thyme.
favorite summer dishes.
And then the vinegar, because remember, this is going to go on the collard greens, and it's important to have the sour with the bitter of the greens. So we're using raspberry vinegar, but any herb-infused vinegar will work beautifully.
Okay.
You see how fluffy, oh golly, they almost
Right
look like
from
cotton
the
candy.
field.
Wrong color, of course. Those are the greens. And then I have the cakes
Oh, so
from
this
the
all
oven.
goes together. There we
So
go.
that goes, this is an appetizer at Elizabeth on 37th,
my.
a vegetarian appetizer.
This is a lot of good earthy flavors, a lot of substance. I mean, for me, that would be the entree. That would be most of my meal. It has everything.
See if I can get a little
Just
of that
wonderful.
vinegar.
Well, and you're going to end up putting some of this on
And
there as
then
well?
just a little bit.
As you finish up this dish, we're going to go to our wine consultant, David Berkeley, find out what he pairs with this wonderful Southern cuisine.
Elizabeth Terry's take on Southern food is, of course, attentive to its cultural origins, but it comes with a sense of sort of high cuisine in a Southern sort of way. And consistent with this pride in Southern food and the world of food, the wine list at Elizabeth is very eclectic. Having sampled the wines from this cellar, I can tell you that it represents many of the wines of the world. Of course, it features American wines, but it comes with also French and Italian, Spanish, and German. Now, recognizing how important the wines are to the foods of Elizabeth, I called to ask what they would recommend to go with this black-eyed pea cake. They enthusiastically recommended a German Riesling. Now, if you can't find a German Riesling, you of course could use a wine from the East Coast, or possibly a Riesling from the Northwest, Oregon and Washington. If you're going to serve the black-eyed pea cakes as a main course, they suggested a fruit-driven Pinot Noir from the Russian River Valley in California.
Elizabeth, everywhere we went along the East Coast, everybody knew who you were. So obviously I'm not the only one that loves what you do with black-eyed peas and grits and collard greens. And thank you so much for sharing this
Oh,
with
it
us.
was our pleasure. Thank you, Regina.
Until next time, santé.
Y'all.
To find out more about Regina's Vegetarian Table, visit our PBS website at pbs.org.